11.1 fluid ounces.
All right.
Good old Pepsi Cola.
We are live for our 10th episode of Burning Subjects, which is, well, to be honest, this is actually perfect for our 10th being the most talked about when the railroad community in America, anyway. Steamtown,
Awesome.
also known as Steamtown, Diesel Town National Historic Site.
Or Rail Town, as it should be called. It's not truly Steamtown anymore. How many steam engines do they have operating now?
One. Just one. And it's an 060 switcher. But anyway, let's start with well, first off, let's put our opinion in before we start.
Like on what?
Like
on Steamtown in general?
Like in Steamtown in general, and what are we excited to talk about in this episode?
It's Steamtown has kind of gone down the crapper since the reorganization.
In my opinion, it's a little bit of a catchphrase, but Steamtown is dead.
Well, we're not talking about Steamtown in Carnforth in the United Kingdom, but
I know you're about the one that's in the US.
Steamtown is dead.
Well, I like Steamtown because of their steam locomotive collection.
But
which is largely covered in rust.
Yeah.
I'm sorry that I had to mention that, but it's true. We all know it's true.
Yep.
Okay.
True.
Even Steamtown knows it's true.
Yeah. They're like, we're out of it.
When it comes to the meme chart of lawful good to chaotic evil, Steamtown scores a solid lawful evil.
Seems legit.
I mean,
it's currently run by the local government in the state of Pennsylvania. Who is this?
Steam tractors are the best.
Zonk?
Josh?
Yes, it's me. How you doing?
This is your first
time. We're doing a podcast on YouTube. It's called Burning Subjects.
Yeah.
You don't know what it is.
Actually, he does. He's watching it right now.
It's normally about steam locomotives.
Jim.
Just to say hi.
Guys, he knows about it. He's watching the stream right now.
Holy shit.
He's watched all of them.
That was all.
But anyway.
See you later, Andrew.
Okay, I'll see you later.
Auf Wiedersehen, mein Freund.
See you later, Comrade Tonk, I guess. But anyway, let's get to that was awkward. But anyway, let's get back to the point. I think Steamtown is dead.
I don't think it's dead.
Yes.
It's barely alive. Let's put it that
dead.
way.
But yeah, either way, let's get to the actual point. So, how did Steamtown come around, shall we say?
I don't know. I think I know.
Okay.
Well, Steamtown usually was named together when a millionaire seafood industrialist named F. Downson Blount. He was an avid railroad enthusiast, and he always wanted to have an own railroad. Let's see.
He wanted to have his own railroad museum. I'm looking on the Wikipedia page of Steamtown, USA, which is basically the original installment of Steamtown. And in 1955, it looked acquiring the narrow gauge Everdale Railroad in Carver, Massachusetts in 1955, he began amassing one of the largest collections of antique steam locomotives in the United States. By 1964, another part of his collection at North Wallop, New Hampshire, consisted of 25 steam locomotives from the United States and Canada, 10 other locomotives, and 25 pieces of rolling stock. It's all, but yes, critical to note, even though his old museum was called Steamtown, USA, most of the steam locomotives that he got were actually from Canada, because that's where most of the serviceable locomotives were at the time. And, steam engines that were still in reasonable nick. to stuff in the United States that was literally going down the crapper.
Yeah.
Andrew, what the hell are they?
What?
Andrew didn't disconnect. That was Steven.
No, I was
Yeah.
wondering what the hell he's got in his mouth.
I couldn't hear you guys for some reason. I mean, the fact is, around here the internet's real fast on my phone. I just use LTE, but I don't understand why it's like I couldn't hear you guys.
Sounds like a you problem, not gonna lie. But yeah, what the fuck are they?
But anyway, we're going to be talking about the locomotives that have either operated there, restored there, or have just been there like at all, or have even visited, or the ones that are just
unique, pretty interesting locomotives that used to be part of the collection but are no longer there.
Yeah, and a certain excursion star that never actually came to be, which is actually the thumbnail of this stream.
Yeah, should I? What locomotive should we begin with? Something that used to be there but isn't there anymore?
Let's begin with something small. Well,
Well, I there are two particular locomotives that ought to see Jordan's tickle over there because he's British.
yeah. And
So
what-
yeah, Jordan, did you know that there were a couple of British steam engines at Steamtown, USA?
Which engines?
Southern number 926, Repton, which is one of the Monsol schools, and London Southwestern M7, number 53.
Interesting.
Yep, they were actually there at Steamtown, USA for a while.
Yeah, that's kind of cool.
I actually didn't know this either.
Yeah, so 926, Repton, as I said, it's part of the school class, which was a small class of 40 triple-cylindered 440s designed by Richard Monsell for the Southern Railway in the United Kingdom.
Triple
They were going to
cylinder?
be powerful intermediate express locomotives for relatively lightly laid routes, and were also a bit tight on tunnels. But passenger trains still kept growing, and you needed a powerful and compact engine, and the schools obviously fitted that bill. So yeah, that's why 40 of those things were built, and they were named schools because they weren't named after public schools. So yeah. Let's see. A little bit of a short history here. It was withdrawn from service in 1966. Oh no, wait. December 1963, and in 66 it was sold to somebody in the United States, so he could donate to F. Nelson Blount. And before that, the locomotive was purchased and overhauled at Eastleigh Works, and I believe repainted back to its original Southern livery. So the British Rail number was done away with, and it got its old engine number of 926 back. And there was also a mechanical modification carried out on the engine because the coal bunker on the tender was fitted with bigger slabs on the side to increase coal capacity. Because Repton was also loaned out to the Cape Breton Steam Railway in Canada, where it operated a regular passenger service, believe it or not.
Revenue.
No, not revenue, just regular, like maybe, regular tourist kinds of trains.
Okay. Because I mean, when you said regular passenger service, it just sounded like actually pulling
Yeah, I get what you mean. Pulling passenger trains so that the locomotive could earn its keep. But no, I'm pretty sure that it was just some kind of regular tourist service. Up and down one particular little tourist railroad, that kind of stuff. But yeah, and then in 1989, it was sold again and returned to the United Kingdom, and it went to the North Yorkshire Moors Railway. And
Also, just
and
I'm sorry, I had to.
at first, I believe they operated the locomotive in BR livery again, but then as of 2017, they got it back in Southern livery, which is pretty damn cool. So, yeah. But I don't know that much about 53. So I'm sorry about that one, Jordan.
But in other words, there are also 2 other school classes preserved besides 926.
Yeah, but 926 is the only one that actually went to the States.
Yeah, but
So it's the only one that really went to
if I'm not mistaken, I think it actually operated as late as, the Scranton days. Or when, I've seen a picture of it double heading with 2317 before, and it was heading through the Scranton yard.
Oh, cross bump.
I gotta look this up.
I remember seeing a picture about that, or a picture of that, like on DeviantArt or something like that. It's been a long time.
Questionable, but okay. Anyway, what locomotive? Should we start with how long has 26 been operating there? I wonder.
You mean Baldwin 26?
Yes.
I think we should start with. Something that's operated in the early days of.
That's a good one. Yeah.
Specifically, a tank engine that operated for a month.
Oh, Jim.
Yeah, our thumbnail, Canadian National number 47.
Yes, that's a good one to start on. Okay. Shit, we need Dan.
Well, yeah, we actually do need Dan on this, though.
Yeah, because
long story short, well, I don't really know that much about the locomotive's revenue career, but safe to say, the reason why Port number 47 operated for literally just a month is because the original paperwork regarding to the condition of its boiler got torched in a roundhouse fire. No paperwork, no money to do a recertification, so the locomotive was withdrawn a month later. Nowadays, it's looking like a sad piece of scrap, and it's really, really depressing.
Yeah, I mean,
although I think under the FRA nowadays, I think that the engine could theoretically be stored again. From a comment that I heard,
to be honest,
on a video about 47, it was on that Twilight thing. Apparently, they could theoretically restore it to operation. It's just that the fuel capacity isn't that
high
big on 47. Albeit, it probably has the same fuel capacity as a Shay, and those things at cast Shays operate on 5-hour excursions or something like that, 2.5 hours at least. So they can. I mean, I don't know what I'm saying. So if the Shay can operate long excursions, so can 47. And 47, for its revenue career, those I believe the X10As, I think they were called. Those
X10As.
Those were used in commuter train service. I mean, they could just easily just couple to the back of the train, and pull the train backwards real fast, like that,
To be honest, yeah, I'm actually really sad that 47 only operated for a month, and then that's just really unlucky, Fire.
I mean, it is better than nothing, to be completely fair.
Yeah, but it's just really unlucky that the fire happened, and it was just so close to be. It could have been an actually really good excursion star. I mean, how many of those engines do you think are in America or in the world right now?
I think
there are 3 X10As.
3?
Yeah. 46 and 49 are the 2 other survivors.
46?
I think
I'm
one
looking-
of them is a cosmetical, something like that. One of them that's preserved in Canada. Sure as hell not 47. I even came up with this little fan fiction about 47. Where it was bought by this rich guy who also acquired the 433, but he was actually going to he bought the Virginia Creeper Trail, the rail trail where the Abingdon branch used to be, and he shut down the whole rail trail thing and relayed all the track And then, he acquired the 433 and took it to the North Carolina Transportation Museum and rebuilt it. And it was permanently masquerading as 396. And, the livery, actually, it was called the Virginia Southern. Well, I called it the Virginia Southern. It's kind of, I guess, a prototype for what the 433 looks like now. But, it says Virginia Southern on the tender in, the same type of text on the tender of the N&W. And also, I'm just rambling on right now about this weird thing. But, it's basically kind of like the 433 that I made for, Southwest Virginia 433, but just with Virginia Southern on the tender and all that stuff, and it's numbered 396. And 47 actually got a very similar treatment. That engine would have been fitted like a Hancock breech time, and the 396 would have been fitted with like a Crosby 3 chime or something like that.
You done?
Yeah, I was just saying something about that. Some weird idea I had where, some fan fiction about, again, 47 and 433 being running mates, being restored by NCTM and then running on the Abingdon branch again.
But anyway,
I know you're going over 47 right now, but I watched it. I was watching the stream and you put Andrew to sleep.
Damn
it.
That's all.
You just...
Both must leave now.
Josh just ratted me out. Like, that actually did happen, Steven. I'm sorry. But anyway, what's the next locomotive we're going to talk about?
How about another former member?
And which one will that be?
Well, there's only one that I can really name at the top of my head, and
So of course,
several, but I guess that for Dan's sake, I'm gonna pick one of his all-time favorite Canadian boys.
Yes. By the way,
Canadian Pacific 2816.
Press F in the chat for 2816.
Yeah, 2816.
Oh, okay.
Which is stored serviceable at the moment.
Yeah.
It doesn't run yet, but stored serviceable means that with a little bit of elbow grease, it can run again.
But Jim, I think we should wait for Dan to talk about 2816.
Yes. I'm trying to get him into the thing, but he's not joining.
I think though.
Just tell him we're going to talk about his favorite logo.
Maybe. I think maybe we can talk about a certain cosmetic restoration they're doing right now.
Oh yes. Well, you see, ladies and gentlemen, and hopefully not children. Fuck off in case you're a child. Sorry. But you see, at the moment, Steamtown is actually starting to get a little bit better thanks to several cosmetic refurbishments. One in particular that's going on right there is the very Union Pacific Big Boy, number 4012.
Overrated. No, 4014 is overrated.
Big boys in general to me are overrated, although they are nostalgic because I used to watch The Last of the Giants Volume 3 on VHS when I was little. I'll admit that. But again,
Steven,
I personally think that they're...
Steven, what do you expect?
I have to kindly ask you to shut the fuck up at this point.
Steven.
Do you have congratulations is at least getting a cosmetic refurbishment? Because, the 4012 kind of
needed
it for a very long time. Because
there are other locomotives
before, but the paint wasn't properly applied from what I heard. And it just started to flake off and rust again. At one point, it almost looked like it was ready for the scrapyard.
Well, there are other locomotives there that I think looked far worse, like Canadian Pacific 2929, Nickel Plate Road number 44, which is like a 10-wheeler. I believe it's the oldest nickel plate locomotive in existence.
What?
Nickel Plate Road number 44. That's again, like I said, a 10-wheeler, oldest one in existence.
I've never heard of this engine. I need to go find. I'm gonna look up this engine later
That
on.
thing is quite underrated. I feel like that could deserve a real good cosmetic overhaul. Oh my god! And there's this shade that they have, and the cab is gone. The cab is freaking gone. It's in far worse condition. I mean, really.
Where'd the cab go?
The cab is
beyond rescuing. But let's just be happy that the 4012 is getting a cosmetic refurbishment.
Exactly.
Whatever.
Well, Steven, how would you feel if Steamtown just quit doing stuff altogether?
Moving on. We may discuss 4012.
Yes, 4012. 4012.
Like I said, I mean that's actually quite a special big boy in and of itself because it was the one that went the farthest in the friggin' east. It's practically on the East Coast, I dare to say, because no other big boy went as far east as Pennsylvania. So it's quite an accomplishment in and of itself that they actually got the damn thing there, and that includes the old site in Bellows Falls, Vermont, which I believe is kind of like in the northeastern corner of the United States, pretty much, right?
Yes, it's in New England, just like New Hampshire. Way farther north is North Walpole, New Hampshire, where it was first put in.
And, well, now, of course, they're Scranton, Pennsylvania, but still. But, yeah, at one point the engine was cosmetically refurbished, and it looked great for a little bit, but unfortunately the paint started to chip, and the locomotive just really started taking a beating from the elements. And, at some point, like I said before, it just looked utterly atrocious.
And
it was severely beaten by the elements. Let me see. Burning slip. Let's see. USA locomotives. Here's a picture of the locomotive's cab at one point.
let's see.
And the answer is
Burning.
where is it?
Yes.
I'm looking
yes.
in. Where is it?
What is?
Oh.
Locomotives on your server.
Oh my God.
Now I see what you're coming at. I apologize for my little rant.
That is off. That
I
Yeah.
Oh, that is
It's
sad.
insulting that the tender was actually in slightly better condition.
Oh.
Slightly better cosmetic condition. And even then, I don't even think by that much.
And
not only that, but what was it called? Wasn't there a tree growing in the tender?
I think that was with the 4006, which is the big boy at the Museum of Transportation in St. Louis.
No, I swear I saw a picture of 4012 with a tree in it, and it's coal bunker.
well, either way, guys, the 4012 is currently getting a full cosmetic restoration at Steamtown National Historic Site, which is something you don't see often, especially with a cosmetic restoration of a big boy. I mean, restoring a big boy to operation, that's one thing, but cosmetically, that's more often. It's a good thing. Plus,
basically, doing a cosmetic refurbishment on the big boy, that's one thing, and it's fairly simple compared to completely rebuilding one to operational condition.
yes,
Just ask the Union Pacific about that one.
but
Oh, and I found a little picture where there appears to be a small plant growing on the side of the 4012's boiler.
let me see.
Oh.
Oh, that reminds me of 769. It's like this.
So here's to the hope that they're able to really make the locomotive at least look like the day it rolled out of the factory.
It will be nice.
I bet you there's going to be a shit ton of foamers out there that are going to be like wishing that 4014 would go to Steamtown and then go sit side by side with 4012, you know, like how 765.
Rest in peace, Steamtown trackage and all trackage in the eastern United States that have to accommodate the big boy.
Yeah.
Seriously, in case you're one of those farmers who truly wishes that 4014 will go to Steamtown, that's not happening because the Union Pacific can't. From what I've heard, the Union Pacific can't go further east than Chicago, Illinois. Union Pacific trackage doesn't go that far east to friggin' Pennsylvania. For that, you have to ride on, I believe, CSX and definitely Norfolk Southern for that one.
Well, maybe Norfolk
what's it
Southern
say?
might let them do it, but
Didn't-
I don't know about CSX.
Didn't 844 go all the way to Chattanooga, Tennessee? Like,
I
Maybe.
think it did. Like, it also, I think it went to Memphis, Tennessee. Actually, but I don't exactly know where the state of Tennessee is located in the United States. Again, sorry, I'm a Dutchman. I'm from the
in the United
Netherlands.
States.
Yeah, but I don't know exactly where, in which specific corner of the United States.
Neither do I. I'm British.
Yeah, and so I wouldn't know exactly where Union Pacific trackage ends in Tennessee and where trackage of one of the other Class 1 railroads begins in Tennessee. So, yeah.
Well, what are some other locomotives that I probably don't know about that are getting some sort of attention at Steamtown?
Let's see.
Well, I guess I can finish up the segment of 4012 by showing you a pretty cool image of the engine in steam days sitting next to fellow big boy 4018. So
I've
imagine
seen
that.
4018 in person.
I mean, look at this. Two operational big boys in their heyday, and both of them have been preserved.
Yeah,
That's
that
actually kind of awesome.
yeah, that is a pretty cool. That's a rare
Is
photo
it in
right there.
Texas or something?
Yeah, it's part of the Museum of the American Railroad, which used to be located in Dallas, Texas, and in the first half of the 2010s, that museum moved house to Frisco, Texas.
Look, guys, look at that. Ain't that epic?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's cool.
Yeah.
Especially because I've seen one of these big boys in person. One of them.
By the way, they forgot to close one of the radiator doors on the 4018.
I just noticed that.
So I hate to say this, but I believe the largest locomotive I've ever seen in person is 1218. I saw it twice in a row. I went in 2013 to the Virginia Museum of Transportation, you know, when they were doing that Fire Up 611 thing. And then
Wait.
back in 2015,
Wait.
when they were
I
when 611 was, you know, on a ferry move from Spencer, North Carolina to Roanoke, Virginia. And, you know, like 15 minutes after 4 p.m., 11 arrived there or whatever, you know. But I didn't see 1218.
Steven, if you saw 1218, then you saw 2156, right?
It was, but it was underneath a shed somewhere.
But
And there's
1218.
actually a pretty good chance that that maybe the Y class melees are actually a little bit smaller than the A class because, you know,
What?
even though they were far more powerful, they are probably a bit more compact.
Yeah, they're shorter in, I believe, height and length.
Yeah.
But we
But,
get
you know,
on topic.
like sure, the Y class melees have more driving wheels than the A class simple articulated, but keep in mind they are also much smaller in diameter.
Also, I feel like we're getting off topic. What's another Steamtown locomotive we should talk about? I did briefly mention the Nickel Plate Road 10-wheeler, number 44, like I said.
Let's talk about another nickel plate road locomotive that's there.
Oh,
A
a certain.
Yes. I presume Stephen's favorite nickel plate Berkshire, 759.
And the what I like to call the veteran. I call it I think it's a personal veteran to me, you know, because of, you know, Ross Rowland and everything. But you know what? For nickel plate 759, press F in the chat.
No.
Yes.
Oh.
which, let's see, the burning subjects,
I'm just going to use the emoji F.
Yeah, I literally.
There we go.
I'm pressing V for Vietnam.
Anyway, 759. Hold on. Shit.
By the way, we do actually have an F emoji in
Put
this.
on some music.
Let me guess, it's a fortunate son.
Wait, Jim.
You're welcome.
Of 1944 by the Lima Locomotive Works in Lima, Ohio. It was mainly assigned to, the nickel plate's high-speed freight service. Not sure where it operated, probably around Ohio and Pennsylvania and New York and all that stuff, hence the name New York, Chicago, and St. Louis. But the engine worked there on the nickel plate until 1958. It was actually given the last overhaul of a steam engine in the Conneaut, Ohio shops of the nickel plate sometime in 1958, but all dressed up and ready to go. He never returned to service. And in 62, 63, somewhere around that time, it was purchased by, of course, Nelson Blount for Steamtown, USA, which I believe at the time was in North Walpole, New Hampshire. And then the engine went, after a little while, Ross Rowland needed a more powerful locomotive for the High Iron Company excursions because the public response to the trips was so good that, the little G5s that he was using, which we'll talk about later, they weren't strong enough to handle the ever-growing, passenger train. Well, they were growing in size, obviously. So Ross leased the 759 from Nelson Blount before Blount's untimely death in a plane crash. So they took the 759. What?
He died in a plane crash?
Yes, Blount died in a plane crash.
Jesus Christ.
I didn't know this.
That's an extra terrible way to go out.
I never do that.
We never did.
Quite a time. Yeah, it was an untimely. He was actually piloting his one of his planes home from Steamtown. But anyway. But wait, did we just both say but anyway both together?
I guess.
I think one of you said
But anyway.
someone said but anyway.
So 759 was taken back to the Conneaut, Ohio shops, which were, then part of the N&W, and then they fixed it up over, within, a year or something like that. And its first excursion for the High Iron Company was a excursion from Conneaut, Ohio to Buffalo, New York and back. They also did some excursions to Roanoke, Virginia, I believe. I'm not sure where else, but I think Hoboken, New Jersey or something like that. And Owen would be foaming because, he lives in New Jersey. Hold on. But anyway, Ross, by the time the Golden Spike, the celebrations were happening, Ross thought it was a very undertold story, in American history, because, it took before, trains came along, it took the better part of a year to traverse the states from coast to coast. But, by the time the railroads came along, it was possible in, within a week to actually get from coast to coast via rail, So, he thought, again, that was his, that was something that needed to be brought to national attention. So he created the Golden Spike Centennial Limited, and he used the 759 for the eastern half of the trip from New York to either Kansas City or Omaha, Nebraska. And then the train was handed over to a DDA-40X. In fact, the prototype 6900, which is actually on display at Omaha, Nebraska now.
Nice.
Centennial itself.
6900, nice.
They passed it over to the Living Legend, aka 844, albeit when it was renumbered to 8444. And the weird thing was, when 844 pulled this limited, it actually, he actually didn't even use any like August tenders or diesel helpers, which I find very odd.
I find it cool though.
And then basically after the limited, 759 continued to pull, excursions for, not only did it pull steam excursions for Ross Rollins High Iron Company, but it did pull some like regular excursion trains out of Bells Falls, Vermont for Steamtown, because Owen recently showed a picture of it not long ago, like at least one picture. But, there was also, I think they did a mainline excursion with 759 once, but Ross Rowland continued to use that engine until his lease expired, and then he started using Reading 2102 for a little bit. But the final High Iron Company excursion was actually done by 759. Ross leased it on a short-term basis to promote the Freedom Train. But after all that, 759 was stored in a roundhouse in Rouse's Point, New York, that was owned by the Delaware and Hudson.
Oh, yeah.
And a big problem, a big oof. After the 759's final run, the people in the Delaware and Hudson didn't drain the locomotive's boiler. So all that lovely water that was still in the boiler froze overnight.
And damaged who knows how many flue pipes inside the boiler.
That doesn't sound good.
All of them.
Yeah,
It damaged all the tubes and flues inside the boiler. One broken boiler. Awesome. The repair bill's on you guys.
And well,
So Steamtown did sue DNH, and then they got, they obviously lost, but Steamtown won again. I can't really talk. I'm trying to explain it as best as I can. So they tried to, get 759 running again, but after flue failure during the hydrostatic test, they just said, you know what, fuck it, it's just too difficult for us to have to fuck with right now. So they just decided to
put it on static display.
And now the engine is never going to operate ever again. But we do have 765. I mean, I'll admit is overrated. I mean, go see
especially in the last video.
This episode we talked about it.
We literally talked about it in the last video.
You were practically seething with rage over that locomotive. But I guess on the other side, we should be happy that we still have
a nickel plate
Berkshire operational.
Oh!
Yeah, but again, I prefer it with the Mars light. I hate to say it, Jim, but I like it better with the Mars light.
Me too. But wait, guys.
We are going to start a civil war, Steven.
Guys, I have an idea. What if...
No, did you say we're going to start a civil war?
What if for the 150... What not?
My God,
guys.
My God, me and the Five Shine Boys really are like, the boys off Top Gear.
But guys, what if for the 155th anniversary of the Golden Spike Centennial, the Golden Spike driving, how about they cosmetically disguise 765 as 759 with the paint scheme and the Mars light?
No.
That's what they should have done in 2019.
I know!
No, that wouldn't be a good thing because there'll be two 759.
No.
That would okay. At least put it. Just keep it 765, but put it in that American Railroads livery.
Yes.
But I mean, just for like Steam in the Valley or something like that.
What if we took 759's whistle and mounted it on 765 for a week? Wouldn't that be nice?
They used Nashville, Chattanooga, and St. Louis 576 whistle for last.
Yeah, for the promotion of its restoration. Yeah.
That would have been something. I mean, again, like I said before, it was a missed opportunity. I actually stated that in my video that it was a missed opportunity. It was a missed opportunity to not have, 765 dress up in that livery at least. You know.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm not expecting them to make another Golden Spike Limited or anything like that, especially with all these modern, restrictions these days.
I mean, Union Pacific kind of took care of it for us, by restoring a big boy for the 150th anniversary. So that's pretty cool if I do say so myself.
Okay, I don't want to sound controversial, but I think the big boys are overrated.
Yes,
Yeah, I think
Steven,
they're overrated too.
Steven, yes, they're, but then again, there's a reason that they're overrated. World's
What
largest.
about the ones that are like the slightly smaller ones that are also giant, but they're not as big as the biggest.
It's big, but not big.
But then again, what about
AKA the Challengers, which are personally a little bit more appealing, especially the better ones.
No, I'm more of a Java Challenger guy, but Challengers are Challengers.
But what about a certain locomotive that most people most people don't even know about the Y6Bs? And Jordan, you know what the Y6B? Jordan, you know what the Y6?
Very few people know about.
The Y6B was the world's strongest steam locomotive, Jordan, with 180,000 pounds of tractive effort.
Wait, 180,000?
Yeah, I found out it was from the Y6B, and the Y6A had 160,000 pounds of tractive effort.
Where the hell did you discover this?
Google.
Steamlocomotive.com. Steamlocomotive.com.
Can we move on?
I gotta look this up. Motherfucking.
Motherfucker. Anyway,
Can we move on?
yes, we can move on. Anyway, to the next locomotive. How about we talk about some locomotives that are genuine excursions?
Tractive effort only says 124,000 pounds on steamlocomotive.com. Y6Bs.
For the Y, that's weird. Which version of
Oh,
it?
but they're still
Is it for
quite
the?
powerful.
Is it the compound version of it? Because remember that.
Yeah.
Okay, then look up the simple expansion one.
I don't think it's there.
There is one that shows the simple expansion version of the Y6B. You just need to look for it.
Oh, we'll talk about that later.
Yeah, but anyway. On to, how about our next locomotive is, let's talk about 3254. Just get that over with.
Ow, that hurts so much. Ow,
Let's get
my ears, ow.
Let's get that over
I
with.
think I'm going to need tissue because I think my nose is going to start,
Look, let's get 3254 over with, okay?
No exaggeration because Steven doesn't really like this locomotive.
Yes, but you have to give credit though that Chris Kovacs voices this engine as Craig.
Yeah.
What?
So, hold on. Although I called this, what was I going to say?
San Juan Trains, the series.
Yes, I know. I know what you're talking about. But the engine itself, one reason I don't like it is because of a certain idiot that used to be in the cylinder cock server.
Yes, Evan.
Yeah.
This
thing can be restored within like a week or something.
Go into too much detail about him, but he wanted 3254 to return so badly at one point that it actually got to the point where he was like posting so many comments on videos about the locomotive or videos showing that fucking horrid thing. And I mean, I don't even. But we ended up having to actually intervene at multiple times about the subject. And, he eventually stopped, talking about 3254 constantly, and now he's focused on 587. But, another reason why I don't like the locomotive. Should I just tell the story?
Yeah, just
I'm ready to pick apart this horrid piece of metal on wheels, pieced by miserable pieces.
Yeah, I'm gonna go get a snack
Basically,
and
it's a fatal trade between Steamtown and the Gettysburg.
take the mic.
Yep.
I'm gonna go get a snack.
Here I go. Well, basically, 3254 was built by the Canadian Locomotive Company in Kingston, Ontario in 1917. The locomotive was, of course, a freight locomotive like most Mikados. Don't know much about its revenue career, but it was in a head-on collision with Canada. A head-on collision with another locomotive or something like that in Canada. I don't know, in the 40s or something like that. But the engine, was the collision actually damaged its frame. It got bent somehow, yet the CN kept it in service without even repairing the frame, which, probably added to the rough ride that the locomotive had. Now, the S1Bs weren't unsuccessful designs, unlike, say the E2s or whatever, which were just riddled with flaws from the get-go. 3254 just had that specific flaw because of an accident that it had, which, CN, didn't, bother to repair, So it was retired at some point in the 60s. I don't even remember. I mean, it's been a long time since I've actually looked up any information about the Canuck. Canned Canuck, I should say. It's a derogatory term I use for the locomotive, for those who don't know. But the engine was bought by a man named Willis Barron. He planned to run the locomotive, assuming that he probably didn't know anything about, the bent frame or anything like that. But, he planned to run the locomotive on a former Reading branch line somewhere in Pennsylvania, Ashland, Pennsylvania, I believe. But, the line got torn up before, he could actually, get his hands on the line or whatever the fuck. And then he just put it on display in his motel. Or on his in the parking lot of his motel. That's where he put it on display. But out of nowhere, either Willis Barron passed away or, he sold the locomotive or something like that. It ended up on the infamous Gettysburg Railway, which it operated there for probably 4 or 5 years at the most. And it didn't even really have a ceremonious, return to steam either. It just, came. Just appeared. Well, the real reason why... What?
It was just there.
Yes.
And then it was that place came Clown's favorite engine.
Yep.
Press F for fuck.
I'm back.
In other words, former Canadian Pacific 1278, which we will talk about later, the engine Steamtown wanted 3254. The reason was because 3254 had more tractive effort than, the G5s, which, the G5s, they were able to go at higher speeds. They may not have had a lot of tractive effort, but 1278, I don't think it was in a head-on collision during revenue service. And if it was probably properly repaired or something like that. But, 1278 was in better condition. All it really needed was new flues, and it would just be back in operation again. But if you think about it, as Jim stated with the P2s, what were the problems that the P2s had?
You mean the P2 Mikados from the FPR?
Yeah.
Well, I guess that they, being big Mikados intended for express passenger service meant that they were a bit big, obviously, and they were a little bit they were a little bit too rigid for the line that they were initially supposed to go over between Edinburgh and Aberdeen. So, having eight driving wheels of rather big diameter proved to be a bit of a downfall for them because, in the United Kingdom, Mikados were a very rare type of locomotive, and you wouldn't really expect them because they were just a bit too stiff. And I guess that they were also Gresley 3-cylinder locomotives, so yeah, that's a more unique problem. But basically,
I mean,
the issue is that they were a bit semi-experimental, and they were just a little bit too rigid for their good.
I guess the closest thing you'd find to a Mikado in the UK would be the 8F, which is a 280.
Yeah, it's a 280 consolidation. Yeah,
that would be more common than Mikado.
Yeah,
but I mean, the A2/2 Pacifics, they had more problems, right?
The Ravens.
They were more Yes, when the PTs got rebuilt as A2/2 Pacifics under the helm of Edward Thompson, they did become more flexible, but somehow they were rendered useless on the Edinburgh to Aberdeen route because of an adhesion problem, if I remember correctly.
Oh, lovely.
I guess that's a little bit, like how, it's instead of, a Pacific being basically kind of replacing a Mikado, in this case, it's a Mikado replacing a Pacific.
Yeah. And, I double-checked. The first of many problems with the A2/2s was indeed a lack of adhesion, causing a wheel slip when starting, which meant that they couldn't be used on the Edinburgh to Aberdeen line for which they were originally built. I'm sorry that it's still one of infamous fails.
Yeah, I mean, but 3254, I mean, the engine's design wasn't, flawed or anything like that. It's just that specific locomotive, again, like I said, the frame was fucked. And, the fact that Gettysburg was operating it, that's just pathetic. Again, the frame, that they didn't even fix the frame. It would be expensive, yes, but it'd be worth the freaking expense. Because, 3254 with its, bent frame and all that, it had a rough ride.
Yeah. Yeah. If the frame was properly repaired, it would have been fucking expensive as all shit, but you would have had many, 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 many years of reliable and safer service, which in turn meant that you could probably afford more passenger trains and thus drawn in more people and subsequently make it fairly easy to recuperate your costs for the friggin' repairs on the frame. It would have, if you did your marketing correctly, you would have covered the costs for that frame restoration in no time.
Yeah.
Gettysburg was a bunch of idiots.
Yeah, the people that were in charge, they were too busy fucking around on the Knox and Cane, which was another tourist line in Pennsylvania. That Kinzua Viaduct, they had that Chinese Mikado, which was numbered 1658, which is now the New Haven 3025 at the Valley Railroad Company. But let's just get back to what we were saying about the Canuck? The canned Canuck. So basically, 3254 operated at Steamtown from 1987 to 2012. I mean, I believe it was cosmetically disguised as a
Lackawanna steam engine.
Yeah, Lackawanna. Although it looks really awkward without its, number boards at the top, or the triangular number boards. It looks a little bit awkward, but it looks all right, I guess, But, the engine just operated there for a little while. Another problem that it had is that it consumed coal, really bad,
Yeah, it had a pretty damn low. It had a pretty poor fuel combustion, and from one of the other problems that I saw the 3254 was that I think over time it's slowly started to develop a faster rate of chewing up bearings.
So basically,
I highly doubt that the G5s would have done that, But we'll. Do you guys want me to?
Also, something that I didn't know, apparently the cab is off-centered.
Oh
Jesus Christ!
no!
I
No!
don't know in what way. I don't know in what way. But if it's like actually, if it's like actually suddenly tilted to the left or to the right, I'm gonna say that that's pretty damn bad. And
No!
inexcusable.
No!
It's like it's like trying to find like trading in a car, and it's like, okay, your truck is just not strong enough for anything,
It's
but
like-
it's in pretty good condition.
It's
So
like
you trade it in for this, other truck, which is a lot bigger and more powerful, but it's a piece of shit. There's like just a bunch of like rust on it, and it's like, parts are breaking off and all that. I mean, that's basically what it's like to me. Like, it's like buying it's like buying a piece of junk just because it has more pulling power.
And let's not also forget that Steamtown also had a Canadian National S1D, number 4377.
hold on.
became-
Hold on. Can we just take a
Became
moment?
parts donor for the 3254.
Can we just take-
unfortunately, and now it's stripped of its tender and stripped of its pilot and trailing boat.
Can we just
It's
take a
skeleton.
moment to and even a longer moment to shit on this Mikado, because it's like going to Big Bill Hell's cars, but it's like, welcome to Big Bill Hell's trains or some shit like that.
Breakdown.
Jeez.
If you think you're gonna find a good deal at Big Bill, you can kiss my ass.
Deal. You can kiss my ass.
It's our belief that you're such a stupid mother. You fall for this.
Guaranteed.
If you find a better deal, shove it up your ugly.
But yeah, I believe the now 2012 was when they finally pulled the plug on that horrid Canuck, because it was just a worn out hunk of metal that was more or less begging to be retired.
To be honest,
And one of the Five Shine Boys, aka Owen Bastard in Ohio, he's seen 3254 in person before, back in 2011. I'll say I don't know whether or not to say he's lucky or not, because, again, I really don't like 3254. But, he got to ride behind the engine, and, it was just a Scranton Limited and all that stuff. And at the time, 3254 was the only operational steam engine at Steamtown, partially because of, 2317 been taken out of service. Well, being taken, I cannot talk, but you know what I'm trying to say.
Yeah.
He wasn't drawn from service for overall something.
to be honest, guys,
I believe the 1472-day inspections, which in the long run, 3254 caused,
Yeah.
or at least played a part in,
to be honest, I think this is actually going to be the first episode of Burning Subjects that we're going to have to split into 2 parts.
Oh, I thought we were going to try to make a proper 2-hour episode in one sitting.
I want to make sure that these episodes aren't 2 hours long.
Oh,
At
it's
most,
an hour long right now, but,
we have a little bit longer. But
So,
let's.
and if I were to, put 3254 on a alignment chart, from lawful good to chaotic evil, then the 3254, due to its, fuel consumption, its, bearing consumption, I guess, or usage, basically.
that train, standard cab,
Basically,
subjective looks, which aren't necessarily the best, because I would take a slight shit on the exposed to let's go heater, because that's me. But overall, it would be like bordering between neutral and chaotic evil, right?
look, let's just take.
Definitely chaotic evil, because if you think about it, again, Steamtown wanted it, and they just threw away Blount's favorite locomotive to some, shit railroad.
And then they got shit in return, didn't they? They got a ship Mikado, and jokes on them. Both of them are retired now. So what are you gonna do? Are you gonna get 1278 back? Maybe that would be a better decision. You know what? Actually, how
They
about we
should have just kept 1278 because theoretically, they wouldn't have had to retire it back in 2012 unless maybe they had to overhaul it or something like that if it was really worn out or something like that.
You know what? How about we just go to the NHS Steam Roundhouse and ask them for 1278 back and bring them 3254s like, here, take this pile of shit. We don't want it anymore. Okay? And then we could just, bring 1278 back and be like, oh, this was F. Nelson's favorite steam locomotive. So, we're going to run it because he wanted to run it either way. That's respecting his wishes. But no, you had to sell the locomotive to some jetty fuck railroad. I'm getting
Gettysburg Railway, more like Gettysburg Railway.
You know what, guys? I'm gonna make like a specific episode dedicated to the Gettysburg Railroad, where we just shit on that railroad. We're just gonna.
So when it comes to the Steamtown episode that we're doing now, are we going to end it here for part 1 and then do part 2
next week?
Or,
yes, we're gonna do part 2
tomorrow.
We're gonna do part 2 next week, and for the first time on a Saturday, we're also gonna be doing an episode of Burning Subjects.
What is it about?
All right.
So
wait, this Saturday we're gonna do that.
No, the Saturday after the weekend, the day of Halloween.
Oh.
Okay. So wait, this part is over.
This part right now is well. Any final thoughts other than me just rambling around about the fucking scenic road?
AJ would probably still make a bar joke about the 1278.
But also, I mean, when 3254 is in chaotic evil, anybody know who will be in lawful good?
26?
No, it's just Steam Excursion Stars in general, not just Steamtown when it comes to, lawful good.
GWR 90 on the Strasburg Railroad?
Yep, because again, it saved other locomotives from a roundhouse fire.
Wait, what?
I want to get a ball right now and just crush it, because I'm just imagining the people out there who really wish 3254 would return. I'm imagining their head right here.
And you're squashing them.
Just crunch.
By the way,
yeah.
Seeing how I personally can't decide between neutral evil and chaotic evil when it comes to the 3254, I'm going to expand that lawful good to chaotic evil meme chart here from 3 by 3 to 5 by 5, and I'm going to pick rebel evil, as you can see here. Check memes.
Okay.
It's expanded to good, moral, neutral, impure, and evil, and then you can choose between lawful, social, neutral, rebel, and chaotic.
Yeah.
So for me, 3254 is definitely a solid rebel evil.
Right. Anyway, let's end the stream before I get too worked up. And next time we're in part 2 of Steamtown, we're going to be talking about the actually good locomotives.
Some say this will never continue.
Some
Another hour.
Like we said, it is going.
Some say this will never continue.
But like we said, is it going to be next week?
Yes, next week. We're going to be talking about the 2317, Baldwin 26, and we're also going to be talking about some locomotives that are visiting Steamtown a lot, such as Reading.
425?
Yep, you took the words right out of my mouth. And an interesting.
Milwaukee 254 did that engine.
Another engine that used to be there.
What?
But isn't anymore. And
yeah.
We can talk about that too.
Yeah, we're going to talk about a certain articulated locomotive that
12-18.
is a god, basically. It's a god.
and we need Dan for 2816 if we're going to talk about it.
But either way, we will
Cross
see.
our fingers that he actually shows up for this, because again, he hasn't shown up at all. Like,
Yeah.
although there was that one time I remember, like, he showed up like right as we ended the stream.
That was fucking hilarious.
Yeah.
Well, that was this episode of Burning Subjects, and hopefully we will see you next
We're
time.
ending it on a cliffhanger.
Yes, we're ending it on a
Yeah,
cliffhanger.
and on that bombshell, it is time to end.
on that
Thank you
bombshell, it's
guys
time to
for
say
watching.
goodbye.
Keep liking, commenting, subscribing. Have a wonderful day, folks.
And anyway, let's put out the fire, and we'll see you guys next time. Fire is